Hello, everybody. Can you hear me over the music? Do I need to adjust it? I'm using Monster Cat right now, so it's got like different sound levels. So, what's up? Apparently, people think my hair isn't real. I don't know where that came from, but like, this isn't one of those dread hats, so I just want to put that out there. I don't know. I saw someone was like, "I didn't realize you really had dreads." I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "I thought it was one of those dread caps," and I was like, yeah, no, I just wear the headband because, to be honest, a brother hasn't gotten his hands done in like 6 months, and I ain't trying to show nobody like these roots. My black peeps, especially black women, can feel me in that one. Like, sometimes you ain't trying to show people your roots, but you ain't got the money to go get it done, you know? So I promised myself I'd get like my dreads redone like after we launch Welcome to Tycor, so, you know. Trying to get this mic to disappear like it's supposed to. Bro, you're breaking the illusion. There's just a giant blue thing just hanging out. This is frustrating. Anyway. How's it going, everybody? I know it's been kind of a interesting week, to put it beyond mildly. With that said, I just want everybody to know that, like, I consider myself like a safe space. Like, I put that as an asterisk because I do think it's important to, like, be honest that no one should be on a pedestal. We've all had our shitty periods. The whole point, though, is you just don't have that kind of shitty period, and then you don't try to like cover it up. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of going from point 1 to point 89, and you're like, how did we get here? Because no. Either way, I hope everybody feels safe when they're in this space. As always, if they're shitty people, I have no problem bouncing them. That goes my personal life as well. That's just how it is. So anyway, I just want to get that out there. It has really nothing to do with what we're going to talk about, but it's relevant and it's important. And I just want people to understand where I come from. You know what I mean? I like to think at this point it's kind of obvious how I feel about certain stuff, but it doesn't hurt to put it out there with an extra stamp. So yeah, so one thing I wanted to talk about today was Guerilla Marketing, and it actually came up on a tweet on Sin's thread, and it kind of got me thinking about the fact that, especially one of the things that the RPG realm suffers is from a sense of what exactly is marketing, and also a feeling that, well, I can't be as successful at Dungeons and Dragons because X reasons, right? And a lot of that comes from just how they do marketing. And I'm not like a marketing exec, so I want to get out to the way. Like, I don't have like some of the people. I can't be like, I've been doing marketing for X number of years. No. I have worked at giant corporations. I have had to work closely with marketing. But more importantly, because I have always been the kind of person who wants to do his own projects, I've had to try to figure out how to get people to see my personal projects with no fucking money. And I'm the kind of person, I don't really like to just take it at that. I've never been the kind of person, you can't just put up one wall and stop me. Like, that's not how it works, right? I'm like, okay, I want to get what I want to get to. How can I get there? And so that's always what it comes down to. So for me, a lot of what I'm going to talk about comes from my own forays into, I did 2 conventions, I guess over a decade ago. First one went fairly well, minus like some big issues. Second one, not as well. And that's partially why I didn't do a third. And that's one of those things I like to be honest about now. Like, I think it's one of those things where, especially now that I've been around for a little bit and I have this kind of aura, I think people think that I'm just like a person who just aces everything. And it's like, oh no, bro, I failed at so many stuff. Like, Swords Fall, I can't even remember what number project this is that I'm trying to do, but you know, I did conventions. I tried to do my own online publication like 4 different times. Like, I failed at a lot of stuff, right? But you always have to take that as a lesson, right? Because everything fails for a reason. And sometimes if you can figure out where you went wrong, you can do better the next time. So sometimes Swordsfall does so well because I fucked up enough to get to the point where I'm like, okay, no more fuck ups, or at least not the same fuck ups. That's really my ethos. I don't like to fuck up the same way twice. Like, ego wise, I can't take it. A single fuck up, I don't like egg in my face, but at least I can be like, cool. Not gonna happen again. But second time I do the same fuck up, I don't suffer a full expression onto myself, you know? Which is kind of what the ethos of marketing really is about, right? We think of marketing as selling a product, but really marketing is more about telling people about the product. It's about getting people excited, right? And I think if you think of marketing more as infecting people with your enthusiasm, it comes off as less frightening than thinking I have to have thousands of dollars to be able to advertise. If I don't have a marketing budget of thousands of dollars, and how can I market, Brandon? Like, I can't compete with that. And that's kind of the trap. It feels complicated and they want you to feel complicated. And I know I have enough people in the STEM field that can back me up. Computer world is the same fucking way. There is so much stuff that is actually quite easy, but the language and terminology around it makes it feel like you're on another fucking planet. But it's not. It's really not, right? But that's kind of the trick to it. And marketing is the same way, but worse, because usually there's no physical components. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, a server rack's a server rack, a blade's a blade, a NOS is a NOS. Like, once you know what those things are, you're like, oh yeah. When you don't know, you're like, NOS and a blade, like a blade. You're like, no, blades are real. You know, like, it's the same way, but with marketing, there's no physical object, right? You can't point at it and be like, what's this? X, cool. Marketing doesn't really work like that because the X is people, right? And because people change and the world changes, marketing changes. Marketing as like a topic is the same. You still have to get the word out there, but how you do it changes. It changes rapidly. Sometimes it changes week by week. The way you would market this week is hella different than how you would market last week. And it's hella different than how you'd market the week before that. And the people who make the big bucks, the people who are like your marketing geniuses who get documentaries made out of, those are the people who they know how to pirouette and shift like a ballerina, right? You can't stick them to nothing. Like they wake up with a sense of, cool, how do I market today? What's today's challenge? That's kind of the attitude you have to learn to embrace, full stop, first stop. Before we even talk about money or not having money, you have to accept the fact that how you marketed yesterday is not necessarily what will work today. And you can't take that as an L. You can't take that as a personal failure. You just to be like, okay, new day, that didn't work. All right, what's working right now? What's working right now? Like, for instance, if you look at my Twitter, I market differently over the course of the last 2 years. I market differently based on the month, right? I treat holidays differently than I treat the summer, right? When stuff is going on, I treat that differently. And you kind of have to because you're trying to get people's attention, right? There's no cold object. There's no program. It's a people. It's a person. It's a human being who you're trying to get their attention long enough to take their money. Because we have to be honest about that too, right? Marketing doesn't stop when someone hears about you, right? That's the exposure kind of thing. Marketing stops when someone has your product in their pocket or on their shelf, right? That's the end goal. And you can't be shy about that. You should not feel bad about that, right? Because that's on you as the creator or whatever you do to make it feel like you're selling something you can be proud of, right? If you love what you do, if you love what you made, why would you ever feel bad that you sold that to someone, right? Because you know you're not ripping them off. Because surely you're not a rip-off artist, right? Right? You're not worried about the quality because surely you're not worried about your quality, right? So there's no reason to feel bad about exchanging money for goods if you feel your goods are good, right? So sometimes I think some people think they're worried about marketing when really you're worried about how people will feel about your product. And those are two different things, two vastly different things. But if you are proud of what you made, of what you do, then you should never ever feel bad for exchanging money for it, because money is literally a symbol of life. We could say whatever we want to, and we can talk about the morals of money and all that, but at the end of the day, 2020, this date, June 26th, money equals life. You can do more things with money than you can't do without. So we should not feel bad about it. You gotta eat, you gotta pay rent, we got medical bills. Don't feel bad about exchanging money for the stuff that you make. That is the biggest thing that I think as like independent creators, that's the biggest thing I see people holding it back. Because I tell you right now, you walk into a boardroom of any big company, nobody doubts themselves like that. Not a single one. Name any company of anything you don't like. They do not doubt themselves. None at all. And I'm not saying you have to be cold-hearted like that, but I'm saying, why let them think that they're doing so good and you're not? So, gotta have that confidence, you know what I mean? And I think that some of the problems we have is that we have been taught that that's bad. But if you look at it, is it really a lesson, or was it a weapon to get you to accept X amount of money that you were told to take? That was far less than what you deserve, but what they want to pay you. That's the stuff you kind of have to start unpacking, right? Is what made you think that in the first place? Because you start thinking about the advice, it usually isn't advice. And when you think about where it comes from, it's never from the people around you, right? It's stuff that maybe they hear, but it comes from bigger companies that make you feel that way so they can get away with that. You got to dump that shit. First off, dump it, right? You love what you do. You want to do what you do. You want to do what you do in an equitable and ethical way and still pay rent, right? So, boom. Right. Check comments real quick before we get into the next part. Appreciate it for the host is there, Jester. I'm both surprised and not surprised you are here. Sends the homie. Marketing is so intimidating to me. Thank you for doing this stream. My pleasure. Swords looked at my calendar and scheduled to stream for the moment my meeting for the day ended. I knew it. See, I knew it. I was like, gotta get my homies here. Conventions are hit and miss in a lot of ways. When you say you did them, do you mean renting a booth table? No, I mean like I organized the convention. I organized the whole last convention. Little Rock Game Con 2010. Whole ass convention. It's super hard to promote oneself. We'll talk about it. It's not hard so much as it is frustrating. And those are two different things. Of course, dinner is ready as you come on. What I miss, I will catch on a YouTube vid. Word. I'm trash at marketing myself. We are all trash at things we do not practice at. Single fuck up is a learning experience. Multiple fuck up of the same type is a failure to learn. Fake it till you make it. I know like that phrase has gone around, like some people like it, some people don't. Real quick before we get into that, I want to address it because I do think faking it till you make it is an important part of marketing. But I think you also have to take into account what that really means, not what you want it to mean. Fake it till you make it doesn't mean pretend you can do something that you can't and never attain it. Fake it till you make it means that we understand that confidence goes farther than simply achievements. That being a charismatic person can do more for sales than the actual product itself. And that's really what fake it till you make it means. It means you tell people, yeah, we're going to be awesome. This product's going to be dope. Even with, at the time, you don't really know if it is because you haven't done it. You fake it until you've actually made the thing that you've been telling people you are making. I fake it till I make it at Swords Fall, but it's not the same as what other people say. I'm not faking it because I can't do it. I'm faking it because at this moment I'm telling you it is not a thing. But when I come out with it, there's an enjoyment of being like, see, told you so. That's the joy of fake it till you make it. You get to kind of call your shot, right? That's really what you're doing. You're saying, hey, this is where I'm going to be, right? And then you hustle your way there and you just don't show people the times where at night you're flipping out and you're like, I've edited this same page 89 times. I've spent 15 hours on the same sentence and I'm gonna fail. It's not that you don't have that. It's just that you don't show your public that. It's not that you don't show your team. It's not that you don't show your loved ones. It's that you don't show the general public that fear. You deal with it, right? You acknowledge the fact that this is a fear and you have had to re-edit this page, but then you find the solution, right? You kind of go back to school for a second. You like solve for X. And X problem today is I can't edit this fucking page, right? So you solve for X. The key is you just don't let people see that you're panicking because the real of it is that customers will go along with your panic. In fact, they'll panic harder. So you're trying to assure them that yes, there is safety in putting your money with you, but also knowing that you're telling people what you're going to do, which means you have to achieve that. And that's kind of where it comes down to like a classic sales line of under promise, over deliver. That's the key, right? And so that kind of goes along with fake it till you make it, right? You fake it, you fake telling them what you're going to do, right? Then you make it, but you make it better than what you told them it was going to, right? And that's really what makes things popular in a sense, right? Because that's what makes you feel like you got value. You're like, oh yeah, I got on this at day one when no one else believed in it. And yeah, see, look how awesome this product is. That makes a true fan, right? Like a true fan is worth 1,000 regular casual people, because they'll carry you through the slow seasons. They'll tell their friends, they'll tell their friends' they'll tell their friends not just about you, but they tell them with the same enthusiasm that you might have. Hell, I have fans of Swordsfall that I think sometimes are more hyped about it than I am, right? And you don't get that through marketing. All marketing does is it lets people see you, but you have to infect them with that, you know? And that's where that fake it till make it comes in. So, thank you for the host, Casey. I appreciate it. Except your lot in life isn't teaching you to be content, it's teaching you to be complacent. But it's not fake it at all. You have it, don't think it's fake. It's true. I mean, it's only faking it because at that exact moment, it does not exist. You know what I mean? I can't fake it even if I wanted to because I would hate myself. No. So that's the kind of stuff, Cal, that you have to start to actually deconstruct, because at that point, you are telling yourself that you are failing. There's no outside forces that are telling you that. It's you. You can't be your own worst enemy. You can be your own biggest critic, right? But in a fixing it sense, but you cannot hold yourself back like that. Like I said, all the terrible people that we talk about, that we say are doing these terrible things in corporations, they don't talk like that. They do not. So we have to steal a bit of that, but then add in a more equitable sense, right? A better way of doing it. But part of that comes from accepting certain things, but also doing it in a way that lets you feel good about it. I feel good marketing Sourceful because I think we truly do great fucking work. And that's not an accident. I spent time trying to find my artist, right? It took me almost 6 months to find my original artist, right? I kind of waited on Tumo. I wanted Tumo as an artist. Like, he didn't even be back at first, right? But I was like, hey, I really want to do work. So I can be confident in what I say and what I market, because I know I got the people that can do it. I know that I'm willing to do it. I know that I'm willing to stay up till ridiculous hours of the night to get something through, right? So why can't I feel good in that? And that's kind of what I mean about the faking it part. You don't have to fully 100% believe that you can do it. Literally until the Kickstarter funded, I didn't think we were going to fund, right? You know what I mean? Like, I was full of self-doubt. But you don't act on the self-doubt. You hear it, and then you go, cool, how can I make sure you were never a valid opinion? I try to make sure that when there's a negative voice in my head and it comes from me, I go out of my way to prove it wrong. Because I don't like how that makes me feel. Like, to me, that's what I've realized what fueled my own depression, right? Because I am a person who has that as well. And for me, it was feeling that voice in my head of telling me that I sucked, thinking that was the real voice. That was the problem. But realizing that it's just a part of me. It's one of various voices who think various things, and that I can be like, hey, negative Brandon, you suck. Shut up. I don't have time for you right now. I know you think that this is going to be a thing, but instead, I'm going to go and do this email and do this thing and do this thing, and then I'm going to show you because you're wrong. You don't have to believe it. You just have to follow through with it. You just have to follow through with it. You know what I mean? You don't have to believe it. You just have to take the steps. That's kind of what a leap of faith really means, right? You're taking the leap without really knowing what's going to happen, but you take the fucking leap. I don't mean in a mean way, but like, that's kind of how I feel myself. I'm like, take the fucking leap, Brandon. Like, get out the fucking ledge. And I'm like, oh, but I'm scared. Leap. You know, like, so you got to figure out what you got to do to get you where you got to go. And the biggest thing is that there's a lot of different ways to do it. You just have to make sure you're not taking a shortcut that hurts someone else. And that's kind of like the part that's the hard part that I can't really teach out, because hell, I'm learning it every day. But like, you just kind of like, don't let yourself be the enemy, because I'll tell you, you'll get critics. There'll be out there people who will make videos about you that are terrible. So like, why bash yourself when other people will do it for you for free? That's why I want to get into streamed RPGs, because that's something I'm actually confident about. You just have to be careful about getting into something that you think you'll be confident about, because those are the things that can hurt you the most, because confidence can be taken away. And if that was your primary reason for being there and you don't have something else that steals you through, it doesn't bode well. You know what I mean? So like, sometimes you have to run into your own fire, right? And that goes along with marketing, because you will always have these fears. Every time I shout out Sourcefall, every time we have a new product or something like that, there's intense fear. You just have to learn to live with it. And I don't mean in a defeating way, but know that that's who you are as a person, that every time you go to market, you're going to have this in your chest, right? Instead of being like, oh God, no, like this pain, this feeling, run away from it, you kind of start, I personally treat it like I do something like working out, right? The pain is a sign that I'm doing work, because I have to rip these tendons so that I can build them better, right? I have to rip that kind of part of myself that's squeamish and it's scared, and I have to build it better. And so part of that's just walking into it, that being afraid to market and hitting the send button anyway. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. You may never stop being afraid, but it no longer becomes the reason you don't do it. This is the thing that's there, along with all the other voices that you have, along with all the other concerns. You know what I mean? You can't make it feel like it's the biggest thing. And once again, this is a marketing thing. There's a reason why some of the biggest and best marketers are a little bit like sociopathic, because you kind of have to learn to not take the L with the marketing, right? Because sometimes people aren't telling you no, they're telling the situation no. And you have to be able to decode that, see that, deal with that, and a lot of it's just pivoting, you know, and just kind of remembering at the end of the day, you want to do this. So how can you make it happen? Yeah. What up, Snickle? How's it going, buddy? It's hard to pull your own criticisms away from marketing yourself. You always know the flaws. That's part of faking it until you make it. Nobody else sees all the tiny flaws you have, so there's no reason to highlight them. Exactly. Loves how you're saying this. I appreciate it, Ash. These are like the inspirational talks I give myself. I definitely am the kind of person I have to gas myself up, because I'm a hermit for a reason. Thanks for the follow, SW Gordon. I appreciate it. People stop at the fake it part and ignore the make it part too often. Gotta make it. I literally don't shut up about Swords Fall. See? I love that kind of stuff. My love of Tritops is more powerful than Brandon can confirm. I'm really pleased at how much people love the Tritops. Like, quick story, I didn't even know that that's what Wayne was going to draw, right? Because that was actually part of the samples I had the Drift to Dream team make, right? And he basically was like, hey, like, I think he asked me, he was like, are there like dinosaurs or anything like that in Source Fall? I'm like, fuck yeah, there is now. I'm like, do what you want to do, I'll figure out how to make, I'll justify it. Like, that's my job as the writer, right? And so he like breaks out this picture, and I'm like, this is, my heart just melted like all the way down, and then like my soul's dripping on my ears. Like, this is the thing now. And I'm like, in my mind I imagine like I have a stamp and it says Canon on it, and like an artist is like, hey, here's this picture. I'm like, Canon. Yeah, so it was fun. Yeah, so I enjoy that kind of stuff, and so it's fun seeing people enjoy that stuff, and that's kind of marketing too, right? Once I like the tri-top, right? It was a question of, are other people going to like the tri-tops? And I put it out there, and I put out the art a lot because I also gauge how people feel about different art pieces. So I know which art pieces are generally people's favorites. I keep track of which ones like get the most likes. I keep track of which ones are most requested. I know which ones I sell the most merch out of, right? So I use that information to be like, oh, people really like tri-tops. Cool. Hey, like, Wayne, can you do like just a separate picture of like this cute tri-top? Because I think it's cute, right? And he's like, sure, awesome, go. And you just kind of build from there. People over here trying to... No one wants to click your YouTube video, Bob. I need like a little sound when like we squash trolls. I'm gonna have to get a whole soundboard. Chat. Marketing / promoting yourself does kind of feel like listening to your own voice, but you need to get it out there. But it's not though. Like, you're not really listening to your own voice. You're talking to the audience, right? You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to them. At a certain point, it doesn't matter what you like. It's about what they like. Yeah, and that's like the weird thing about being a creator. At some point, it's not all in your control. So, just literal hope. I'm like 99% self-doubt. No, friend, you are 99% water? Negative Brandon's a jerk. He is. We fight sometimes. I tell him to go sit in this corner. I don't want to hear shit. Inner voice filled with doubts and bullshit. You'll fail at that. Me, operating on spite and mania. I'll make you watch me succeed. That's how I feel about it. Like, sometimes I do it to spite myself, despite the inner voice that says you can't do it. And I'm like, I'm going to show you. Do something until you believe in yourself. I mean, if you start reading some of the books of like people who you look up to, or just anybody who's made it in the way you like, I almost guarantee you'll see the same thing, right? Because you build that belief, right? And you also have to be willing to re-examine it, so you can't fully believe in yourself, because if you believe in yourself too much, then it's really hard to pivot and change. So you have to believe in yourself enough to not rip yourself to shreds, but also have enough self-doubt to like re-examine yourself and be self-aware. And that's like the balance that's hard to find. And you're never gonna stay in a balance like for a whole period. Like, you're gonna sway. Like, you might sway day to day, but like you still have to know like where the needle is and like where you're trying to get to, you know. I love your products though. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. Like, I genuinely enjoy the products we put out, so that part helps a lot. And I'm doing good today, Andres. How are you doing? Like, moving forward and promoting myself, I often freeze up and just decide against it. How do you ignore that? So, Captain, that's where you have to ask yourself why you're freezing up. Because there's a reason. And I don't want to jump too deep in this because I'm not a therapist, right? But almost every time people freeze, there's some sort of trauma or something that's holding you back. There's something that happened in your life that flashes in your mind that reminds you of that time that thing happened. You have to find a way to put that to bed. It's kind of a weird answer, but like, everyone's a little bit different, but you have to find a way to put it to bed. For me, my biggest issue with marketing was I felt awkward marketing because I hated myself and how I looked, right? I was a fat kid. Part of what I did to get control of my own life, and this is not something everybody else would do, but for me, that was going to the gym. That was working out. I had to make myself feel good about seeing pictures of myself. I had to make myself not hate myself in the mirror, right? That was a long journey. Like, that was something I worked on before I got to Swordsfall. I would have a lot harder time marketing Swordsfall if I hadn't conquered that. That's 100%. Like, being up on a stream and seeing myself, this is something I would have literally never have done 5 years ago. 5 years ago, you couldn't have paid me to be on Twitch. You couldn't have paid me to see myself. My face on a book? Get the fuck out of here. 5 years ago, man, I would have shut the door in your face and be like, bye. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's not the marketing, it's you. Once again, there's a reason why some of the best marketers are people who, like, we say, oh, you just love yourself. It's like, well, they're not shy from seeing themselves. Hell, they enjoy it a little bit because they can see the work that they put into themselves. They can see the progress. So you have to diffuse the parts that make you freeze. You have to take that stuff away. You can't just ignore it. You can't just plow it through. You actually have to work it out. Sometimes that involves an actual therapist. And that should be no shame. Like, we need to really start normalizing things like therapy because it's just legit. It really does fucking help. I had a director tell me once, you'll never get rid of those butterflies in the pit of your stomach, so you might as well teach them the flying formation. I really like that. Make a flying formation. I mean, that's perfect. Like, they never go away. You just learn to deal with it. You learn to use it, right? They are pink and lovely. Tritops is adorbs. How could we not love Tritops? Agreed. Thank you for the follow, Sleepy. I appreciate it. I get so many compliments on my tri-top phone case. I'm so happy. I feel so good. It was a Rickroll. Thanks to Rickroll, I really do love that Rick Astley song. I will Rickroll myself on purpose because, I don't know, I like that song. I don't feel bad about it. The sound after an anvil hits a Looney Tune character, that accordion sound, yeah, that'd be great for a band sound. Just a reference to how people feel weird listening to their own voice. Oh yeah, I hate listening to my own voice. I mean, you got to when you edit it, but doesn't mean I have to like it. Be like water, my friend. Bruce Lee. Sassy finger waving Brandon should be a GIF. I can see that. Back from dinner, fish from the fish van and chips. Damn, fish and chips, that sound good. I call my negative Arc Calvin because math jokes. I fucks with that. Sometimes it works, honestly, to make the negative part of you a fictional character, and then you start to fight it. My villains are definitely pieces of myself that I don't like, that like I want to defeat. Spite is a damn fine motivator. Agreed. Spite is like the ultimate little NOS boost. This isn't quite marketing, but how do you balance the content that's popular versus the content you want to create? That's a good question, Pixie. So it's a middle ground, right? It's one part figuring out what's popular and why it's popular, and then two parts, how can you make your stuff resonate? Like, if you look at Swordsfall, I don't really particularly give homage or credit to any one particular thing. It's kind of because I don't care. I don't mean that like in a mean way, but like I don't really care what's popular. D&D's hella popular. I don't care. That doesn't mean I ignore it. That doesn't mean I go, well, I don't care what's popular, I'm gonna do my own weird esoteric thing. Nah, it just means that I don't really care what's popular. I care about what I'm doing and how can I make it popular, right? So the question is, why the hell is D&D popular? And so that's like the stuff that you sit down and examine when you're trying to figure out how you want to market it. Some of it is just literally shocking it out there and having people tell you what they like. There's a certain point where you can only do so much prep. You just have to do field work, and you just have to be willing to take an L. I mean, that's the big thing. You have to be willing to take an L in marketing because you won't always be successful. You will have flops. You just have to be willing to flop, learn why you flopped, and then be willing to like execute if you don't want it to flop. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, let me get to this chat just to make sure, and then we'll talk about that because that kind of goes into the bigger stuff I want to kind of address. The balance you describe is how I define humility. That's the truth. I always felt shitty self-promoting, but the more I did, the more I started getting comfortable with that, and the very limited success contributed as well. Success helps. It's like a nice little stamp of I did good. And as a note, defining it that way changed a lot of things for me. My inner voice is just a generic rotisserie fuckboy. It doesn't deserve a name. What is a rotisserie fuckboy? That's a new phrase. Hi, wife. Rotisserie fuckboy. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that one for a second. I just imagine this rotisserie and just like this dude and he's got a shave. He's like, but bro, I'm just saying. But actually, that was a good image. Hold on. I need some music change. I need something slightly more. Let's see what's happening in Future Bass. Future Bass. Why is everything? I'm sorry. I'm not in the mood for a song that starts with like really slow, sad singing. I'm just not. Can you hit it, bro, with some break beats out here, Monster Cat? Anyway, sorry. Particularly about my music on my stream. To your point earlier about doing new marketing things often, I think it's important not to let yourself get down when those things fail. Sometimes an awesome idea you have just flops. It doesn't mean it's terrible. Sometimes things just fail. Sometimes it's not that it wasn't an awesome idea. Sometimes it was an awesome idea at the worst time. That happens too. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many weird dimensions to it when it comes to this kind of stuff. I just want a playlist full of stuff that's not sleepy, bro. I'm like, how does Monster Cat like fail me when it's like, whenever I'm randomly listening to music, I find the hardest hitting breakbeats from Monster Cat, and then I'm on stream, and I want decent music, and then I can't find what I want. I'm frustrated. Bro, I don't want a radio station where you're actually talking. Come now. Stop. 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 You're killing me. Literally killing me, Smalls. I'm about to cry over here. Someone send me some fucking music, bro. After the stream, I'm about to hit up like all the black folks I know and be like, send me something good that like you're trying to get out there because a brother needs some music he can stream. That's not like starts off with crying. I just can't today. I'm waiting for all of it, all of what I got to show off in my Discords. I like to steer people away from using Discord as like a primary way to market. Discord is very much a closed garden, and I think people would be surprised how much further the marketing goes if they break out of that. Bro. I'm about to put myself to sleep with this playlist. I'd rather have like some hardcore dubstep right now. This is the stress. Rotisserie fuckboy Candy. Why aren't we friends yet? Can we fix that? Thanks for the 2-month Twitch Prime sub. I appreciate that, NNG9. Sometimes it needs to be taken back to the drawing board. Other times it was just the wrong time for it. I'm curious if you have examples of things you tried that just didn't work as well you hoped they would. Oh God, so much. Man, there's like the stuff with Swordsfall. Like there was definitely a period of time where I was like, man, is swag ever going to be a thing that people want? Did I make shirts for literally no reason because no one ever wants to buy them? And it took me almost a year before I actually started making like actual sales on it, like an actual, oh hey, I made more than like $1.50 this month. We'll get to some more of that. I'm gonna get through chat because y'all, I love chat. Y'all ridiculous. On behalf of everyone, I'm glad 5 years has passed because you're a whole beefcake. Yeah, I said it. I appreciate it. I'm actually super ready for COVID to stop being a thing and people to, you know, social distance so we can go back outside because I miss lifting weights. It was really good for my overall psyche, and I after a year of not really doing any working out at all, I've realized like how much that actually centered me. I kind of miss it. I said what I said. Damn right you did. You're never gonna give up on that song, eh? Never. 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 Nigga Scott. Actually, I had a good tweet about that a while ago about Scott Pilgrim because it was just, I had this realization about Nigga Scott and it's in terms of what that meant. My OCs tend to shout at the I'm gonna screw up voice and tell it shut the fuck up. You'll never find the next popular thing if you just do what's popular already. Because it's popular for a reason. Like there's popularity in a way is like, it's like a currency. It spends. Brandon's like 5 minutes behind chat. Well, I can't help it, bro. I ramble. Y'all know this. I know this. The devil doesn't need an advocate. He's got plenty. Debate rotates. It's funny coming back to when I've already made people laugh. It's the best. It's the best. Thanks for the follow, Plum Coco. I'm almost caught up. I want to DM so I don't get exposed. If you're gonna get exposed for your own thoughts, that's kind of the point, bro. That shit. People be like, I don't want to get exposed for what I'm thinking. It's like, well, maybe you need to adjust your thinking. Like, why is this hard? When you need the beats, they're not there. It's frustrating. Just want people clap, be like, bring the beats. Apparently all EDM is breathy voice, white women singing depressingly. I'm so frustrated. I'm glad you said emotional because I was trying hard not to say it, but like that's all EDM is right now, and I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, it's like Ella Goldline had one hit, and they were like, "Oh my God, we need more of this." I'm like, do we though? Do we though? Do we though? Do we? Lana Del Rey, goddamn Lana Del Rey. People who join Discord already committed. Yep, there's no reach with it. Exactly. I mean, in my friends' Discords, it kind of plays out to the same way, right? Discords work best when people in the Discord that are part of a Discord talk about your product in the Discord to other people. It's just more authentic when it's someone else in the Discord talking about your product than you in their Discord shilling your product. Not that I'm saying don't shill in a Discord, it's just doesn't have the same reach. Received my SF Gator in the mail today. Thanks a ton. Awesome. I'm glad. I need to do a giveaway here soon. So vis-a-vis, right product, wrong time thing. I always like to let people know. A few years back, the single most successful Kickstarter was for a portable cooler called the Coolest. Exactly. It made hundreds of thousands, and that was its second attempt. The first time it failed miserably at cracking 10K. Timing can be everything. See also the Dreamcast. Exactly, Sen. Dreamcast was beyond ahead of its time. It's a damn shame that Sega couldn't make their way through that, because I feel like they could have come out with the Dreamcast 2 and it would have been finally that time. So just give me an alto with pipes, goddamn, right? I miss, like, if anybody remembers, like, old school, like, Massive Attack, when they had, like, this awesome black singer and she would just hit you with these, like, I'm like, yeah, I miss that. I miss Glitch Wave with black women vocals. So hard. So hard. They had us in the first half, Chiff. I am going to put an LGS. I want to move away. Get some bagpipe. Yeah, I love her sound. Thanks for the follow, Valen. Alright, let's get into this. Let's talk about this real. Let's talk about guerrilla marketing. So what is guerrilla marketing, right? Kind of goes along with the terminology, guerrilla warfare, right? And really it's just a way of saying, like, ad hoc. We're just going to do it without any resources. We're going to do it from the resources around us, right? It's very much in the moment. That's why guerrilla warfare is so hard to deal with, because they're just like, hey, they're just doing everything. They're like, then the weeds are hiding behind stuff, like they know the terrain, and you kind of have to treat that the same way. So the biggest way I think of guerrilla marketing is the advantage you have usually as a small creator or independent creator is that you know the terrain. And much like the concept of guerrilla warfare, it works best because the concept is that this is your home turf. You just don't have the outright power to win against superior numbers, superior tech, yada, yada, yada. And in creative circles, it works the same way. Oftentimes, we're competing against companies that are selling to us in essentially our own backyard. If we take, the RPG realm, for instance, we're dealing with, competing with Wizards of the Coast and whatnot, but they're selling to us. And a lot of your indie creators come from that sphere, right? We keep talking about how so-and-so cut their teeth on this game, and every interview I've ever done has always asked me, well, what was our first TTRPG? Because there's an understanding that if you're creating it, surely it has to be also your hobby. Surely you must also be here. If you think about it, that kind of says that you have an innate advantage, that this is your spot, this is your place, and that you're becoming a creator not just for money, right? But because you really love to do this. You've done this enough to where now you're like, I have to do my own version. Guerrilla marketing starts from that. And I think people have a tendency to think that marketing is throwing money at ads and, showing up at cons. And don't get me wrong, that is hosting, right? That is hosting. Thanks for the host, BB Wolf. That is marketing, but it's not the only form of marketing. It's your shotgun, it's your carpet bomb, and it's your biggest bad a shot, and the easiest way to do that is just to feed money into it. Boom. Simple. Path of least resistance. And when you have that kind of money, you can. It is effective. However, that's not the only way to do it. Because, like I said at the beginning, marketing is about getting people to see it, getting people to buy it. There's like a completion that kind of comes to marketing. If you think about it, it's kind of like a couple different steps, right? Step one is, this is a thing that we're doing. Step two is, hey, this is a thing we're doing. You should get this. You would want this. Let me tell you why. Step three is actually technically holding their hand to the final shopping cart to have them purchase it. So marketing isn't just about, hey, ad, because an ad is just literally that first two steps. It's just those companies are usually big enough to where there's an assumption that, oh yeah, this big company, of course I would buy it. Of course I would buy a Coca-Cola. I just totally forgot because now you reminded me and now I'm thirsty. But guerrilla marketing, and especially with independent, what you get to do is you get to exploit a sense of, I know you. You're from the community, right? You can speak with a sense of authenticity because you are currently in the community, right? You know the lingo, you know the terms, you know the slang, you've shared the memes. Guerrilla marketing is you using that to your advantage, right? It's things like, one thing I saw, and I don't remember who it was, I wish I could, so I remember to shout him out, but they took a meme format that was going around on RPGs at the time, and they used it for a sell ad. That's cheeky. That's cute. People should feel free to do more of that. It's just an issue of what can you lean into and what is you, right? You don't just be like, oh, well, Brandon said that doing a meme format was good, so I'm just going to take a meme and put it in there. Nah, like, that has to come from the heart a little bit, right? We all have ways of communicating that we think are good. We all have things that we think are funny. If you were in the community and you're listening and you're open, right, you know how to lean into that. For me, it was quite obviously a sense of, I'm just the kind of person to where I don't necessarily believe in being faceless. I knew I didn't want to be like a faceless company. It wasn't ever going to be Swordsfall and you had no idea the creator. I am Swordsfall. It was always going to be that way. So I know that my marketing was always going to be about me, Brandon, being like, hey, I made Swordsfall. Let me tell you about it. Buy it. That doesn't sound like marketing, but that is marketing, right? It's marketing because I'm marketing the product through myself. And since I'm the creator, since I'm the writer, since every bit of it comes from my brain, I'm the most effective marketing tool possible. An ad can't tell you what I myself can tell you. This whole stream is marketing. This whole stream is marketing. I'm marketing to you right now. When you think about marketing as yourself and it's just more of putting yourself out there, is it marketing or is it talking to your audience? Is it selling to people or is it sharing some knowledge that you know? You know what I mean? Like, that's the weird kind of like inception kind of stuff that you have to think about when it comes to marketing. It's not just about being cold and being like, here's the 10 bullet points to my product. Buy it, please. Like, no. Like, you can do it any sort of way. Like, so one thing I'll point out because people are in here, Snickle Socks, right? Who's in this chat right now. Everybody wave, say hi to Snickle, because Snickle and Retroverse is actually one of the Kickstarters that I looked at when I was building my Kickstarter model. I didn't just pull it out of my butt. If you look at my Kickstarter, there's about 8 different Kickstarters around the TTRPG world that I had up that I looked through religiously. I looked at who was doing good, who was selling, who had a lot of fan engagement, who had comments, right? I did not know why, but I saw they did. Cool. Let me sit here and stare at Retroverse and be like, they're doing really good. What is it? Is this the art? Is it this? Like, you know what I mean? You look at those things. You look at those things and you go, cool. How can I be my own Retroverse? Because I can't be Retroverse, but I can look at what Retroverse did good in terms of getting people excited about it and be like, cool, how can I apply that to Swordsfall? That's the biggest tool we have in our pocket as being like independent creators, because the vast majority of us know each other, right? Either because of tangentially you see each other on Twitter, or you know, you had to have somebody help you with this. Like, we were close to each other. We're the creators around here are closer to each other than we are to, say, the big companies like Paisan and Wizards, right? We shouldn't feel bad about looking over to see what someone else is doing. You just don't have to copy up the paper, right? Even though I told you that I research Retroverse for my Kickstarter, if you pull up Welcome to Tycor and Retroverse, they still are not the same. But I'm telling you that that's what I used as part of what I did, because I looked at it like a formula. I looked at it like a recipe. I looked at it in terms of, oh, Retroverse is a really hot cookie, right? Let me take what's a good cookie? I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna go there and be like, let me go copy this recipe, but I'm like, all right, what do I like about this cookie? It's moist. All right, like, how do you get a moist cookie that's not like weird? All right, and you go research like how to do that, right? You see the ideas that they did that you like, the things that you can pick up on, right? And then you think, okay, how can I apply this to what I'm doing? Sometimes you can't. Like, once again, using Retroverse, they did a lot of different merch, like slide pens and stuff like that. At the time, I didn't really have any interest in doing any of that kind of merch, so I adapted. I moved away from that part to figure out what I could lean into, you know? And so, like, that's how you grow and do things, you know? So, also shout out to Dragon Turtle Games, who their KS I also looked at. There's also, man, I should have made a list. God, it's a card game. I see them at every PAX, and it's super cool looking. Cardboard game. Either way, I'll have to make a list, but there was like 4 or 5 different ones that I looked at that I was like, ooh, this is nice, this is shiny, this is sexy, you know? Then I also pulled up ones that failed. And I was like, cool, why did you fail? How can I not do this? You know, I looked up ones that people were mad about, and I was like, cool, how can I not have people want to burn me to the ground? You know, so sometimes marketing is just looking at it and being like, cool, how can I take a little bit of this magic, but not trying to steal it, like trying to make it at home, your own version, right? Because you are you, and nobody can be you. Like, I can't be Retroverse can't be Swordsfall, but we can look at what each other's doing it good and be like, oh yeah, that worked for you. Oh yeah, maybe I'll try some of that. You know, that's the antithesis of it, right? Is using things that are at your disposal. I was able to do a really good Kickstarter off of no budget, right? And how did I do that? By carbon bombing Twitter like a madman. I did nothing but tweet. And mind you, I wasn't doing Swordsfall full time at this time, right? So it wasn't until May that I quit my job. So all throughout the Kickstarter and everything before that, I worked a full-time job. So literally, I would tweet before I'd go to work. I would tweet right before I walk in. Bathroom break, tweet. Lunch break, tweet. Off of work, tweet. So like, I managed to make it look like I was just there all the time, but I wasn't. You know? You find programs that can let you schedule tweet, like Buffer does a really good job for on the cheap, stuff like that. You do that so that people know who you are, because the real of it is that you don't really know how often people check Twitter. Some people are on Twitter all the time. Some people check Twitter 18 times an hour. Some people check Twitter twice a day. Some people check Twitter once a month. Some people are like, Twitter, what? Oh yeah, every once in a while I go on when someone tells me I need to look at something. Like, so you can't necessarily do your marketing by like, oh, I think I'm annoying people, or it's like, well, because you don't really know when people are there. And also, does anybody ever really get sick of seeing something good? Like, I know we'd say too much of a good thing, but like, man, I'm so sick of these awesome sunsets. God, I wish sunsets would stop being so beautiful, and I'm so tired of beautiful people, and I'm so sick of this cookie tasting all good and chewy and sweet. I just wish it would taste terrible. You know what I mean? So it's like, you will have people that complain, because there will always be someone that complains. If there's anything not more evident right now than the fact that motherfuckers will complain about anything, people are trying to talk about taking away their God-given right to not wear a mask. Bro, we're asking you not to die and kill other people. And if people can't do that and complain about that, then I'm telling you, we need to let that shit go. Who cares if someone complains about your tweet? Fuck them. Someone else liked your tweet, so it evens out. And it just has to be like that, right? It kind of has to be that kind of like, fuck it. You know, like, I want to be able to be like more positive and be like, yeah, you can do it, but sometimes like you do feel like you're shouting into the void, and the last person who you heard from was like, oh my god, all you do is tweet about your fucking stupid merchandise. You kind of have to like sit down, go home, and be like, fuck it, still gonna do it. You know what I mean? So I screamed into the void for a long time, and then just, you never know when it's gonna ride. And so that's the other part of marketing. You can't really predict when it's gonna work. You can bank on it. You can, do as much stuff as humanly possible to try to make that a success, to try to guarantee it, but you really don't know. You don't even know when. Sometimes things just pick up for no reason. Like me, I'm just chilling, doing my own thing, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, Black Lives do matter. And then all of a sudden it's like, here's an extra 3,000 followers. And it's just like, oh, okay. Didn't do a damn thing differently. So it might be weird like that. Using yourself as marketing is really interesting advice and novel to me. I've mostly heard that you should keep the brand separate from yourself, separate Twitter. I fully think that people said that because most of the people that said that knew that they were problematic, abusive asshats, and they knew that if more people knew what they were saying, people would hate them. And you're welcome, Snickle. I appreciate you. Your advice on what you did with Swordsfall is why I stopped tweeting about how I'm on my podcast and YouTube and built the game. Twitch. I kind of get what you're saying, kind of don't, but I'm glad. You did awesome. I'll have to look at your stuff and try to mimic the ideas behind it as well. See? And that's how we all grow. And then you'll build something great, and then I'm going to be like, well, what's Nixel doing over here? And that's kind of part of the whole rising tides. It's not so much because someone raises the tide for you and you automatically succeed. It gives you a sense of what to aim for. And then you go up, and then someone else gets to look at where you're going. And then, you know what I mean? Like, we're all making it together. Regardless if you like it or not. It's not big and it loses and adds followers as quick as it starts raining in Scotland, but it feels better. Consistency. Like most things. Consistency. Pixie, keep in mind, Brandon essentially lives that philosophy. He doesn't have a separate account on socials as Brandon. Yep. He is Swordsfall. Swordsfall is him. The two are necessarily connected and intertwined, so it makes a strong connection to the person and the product. And not to say that it's perfect. It has its own downsides, because when people don't like me, they bail on Swordsfall as a whole, so it has its own downsides. I just am okay with those downsides. And that's the thing, but you just have to be like okay with the downsides. Are you okay with the fact that if people don't like you, they're not going to buy your product? I am. Are you? And those are like valid things I have to worry about. Be right back, about to start selling snick cookies, snickle doodles, snickle snacks. Bro, if that actually doesn't happen, I'm gonna physically be mad. We might actually have to fight, because that is so fucking good. Snickle doodles, snickle snacks, bro, I'm about this. Snickle socks are right, bro. Anno had it right. This 40 dude. Snickle socks are right there. Like, right there. Right there. Sells itself. It's a great philosophy too. It's way more personal and, in my opinion, effective. I just hadn't heard it before as actual marketing advice. I think it's something you see people doing. They just don't talk about it like I do. Like, in essence, what else is an influencer? Instagram is literally nothing but my model. Technically, I'm rifting from Instagram. People can't be trusted with socks. That's truth. That's truth. I do remember your tweet bombing back then. It's been a journey. It really has. It really has. Oh, I feel you. Most marketing advice is super clean and corporate, but it also leans toward having X amount of dollars to act as a replacement for a range of voice. Yes. Money is powerful, but there are other options that are just as powerful if you do them right. Yes. Yes. Yep, I got in trouble at work for spending too much time on my phone promoting stuff. Same. Was still worth it. No regrets. There's a good one called Social Pilot at work, but I think it's not free. Oh, Social Pilot is definitely not free. It's good, but it's like $100 a month, so I don't want to dissuade people from it, Definitely do not. I used it for like a month or two, but it's like we call those enterprise tools not because it's big, but because they're tools that are meant to be used. If you are not using it on a daily basis, you are wasting money. If you use it on a daily basis, powerful, you know? Do people get sick of a good thing? Great quote to keep posting good shit. Exactly. Stop talking about cookies. It's not helping my nutrition plan. Bruh, like, my nutrition plan just became working out more so I could eat more gummies and cookies. And it kind of fucking worked, to be honest. So, more owlbear pictures on the internet. Agreed. I mean, well, that's how I know about you, Andres. Is literally because the baby bestiaria. So, you know. Ew, another picture of a cute animal? Come on, said no one ever. I feel like when people say that, that's how we know we can't fuck with them. It's like, I'm sorry, did you just say you're tired of cute cat pics? And people will just keep strolling if they aren't interested. It's worse to not even try than to put it out there. Exactly. And people who don't like it will just remove themselves easily. I mostly agree, but it sucks when you put tons of effort in, but no one gives a fuck about. Well, but that's what I'm saying, Calv. Was it a tons of effort? What? And also, here's the thing too: effort does not equal success, and that's a lie. It's the biggest lie that's ever been sold, is that effort equals success, because effort is the bare minimum. You can't even pretend to even be in the running to be successful unless you did the fucking thing. So I don't want to necessarily harp on it as like something that's necessarily like twinged in like patriarchy, but it kind of feels like it, because it kind of feels like, well, I did this thing. Why don't I have accolades? It's like, well, cool, but what did you do? Was it anything anybody fucking wanted? Because if we're in a land of we already have 1,082 tools for one job, do you need to be 1,083? Do you? You know what I mean? So there has to be a little more examination to it, because like I put tons of effort into Swordsfall, but I didn't let it get me down when no one cared. Like, I'm only a minor celebrity within the sphere. I've only ever been written by Kotaku that one time, you know what I mean? So I feel that, but you also have to just kind of let go of the effort part, because it's not about the effort. It's about did you make people connect with what you're doing? Selling a product is more like building a relationship than it is anything else. And if you look at how people feel about the stuff that they love, it is a relationship. We feel betrayed when our creators do something that offends us. It's very personal. So I think a lot of the problem is when people are anxious about making those connections, it's always going to feel like no one cares because you did not make them care. And that caring comes from a connection. The question is always, how are you going to establish connection, and what is your like way that you can do it in a way that fills you, you know what I mean? Because as a creator, you do have to be able to do stuff constantly. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I think sometimes the problem is that people think about it as a sprint. But even like things like publishing companies, they don't really like to talk to folks when they think they're just a one and done. You know, we have terms for that. One hit wonders. It's not about doing it once. Doing it once successfully, I don't want to undermine it, but doing something good once isn't technically hard. It's hard to do the thing, but like you can just get lucky. What's hard is being consistent. What's hard is like going through the fact that one product may be awesome and the next one could suck. And then you have to go through the mire of going through your third product with that 1-1 ratio, right? So it can't be about just effort. It has to be more than that, bigger than that, deeper than that, more expansive than that, you know? Right, I have a lot of stuff that has happened to, but if you don't keep putting stuff out, then you won't see anything. There will always be someone who complains. One of my most viral tweets ever was a video recording of me doing a bunch of voices from Big Mouth. Got tons of likes, retweets, and positive comments. And then one guy who said I physically repulsed him and gave him the evolutionary reaction of believing life was worthless and he'd rather be dead. I'd be like, cool, bro. Rip. Need to write you obituary? Get the fuck out. Like, I hate people like that. I don't know. I don't like to play with people like that. Like, if you go through all that effort to be that witty and douchery, brah. Bye. There's a contingent of people out there who feel good hurting people. Yep. Fuck them. Fuck them. Plus, a single thing may not get far reach, but it might resonate with just one person a lot. That's worth the effort, in my opinion. Exactly. Everybody inspires somebody, you know, like, for me, what I think about sometimes is it's like, who inspired Stan Lee? Like, I know everybody wants to be Stan Lee, but I think it's okay to be the person behind Stan Lee, to be the person who inspires the next Stan Lee. Like, don't get me wrong, I want Swordsfall to be epically, like, huge and big because of, I mean, why the fuck not? But, like, I also really want to be the person who inspires the next Stan Lee, who inspires the next amazing creator. Like, I'd love to be that story that, you know, they read, and then in the interview they're like, hey, like, what inspired you to build this $1 billion like company and blah blah blah. Like, oh yeah, when I was a kid I read Swordsfall. Like, I would die happy. Like, that's kind of like the stuff that I want to get to as well, you know. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. You just have to find what empowers you and then double and then triple and quadruple down on that shit, assuming it's healthy. If it's unhealthy, no. But like, what's up, Thay? How's it going? That's why I have almost 800 videos on my YouTube. I'll get there eventually, so I might as well keep trying. See, like, for instance, Calv, I had no idea you had 800 videos on YouTube. You're in my Discord. Like, not to rag on you personally, but like, that's why it's important to market. The people around you aren't always as tapped into as you think about. As much as I promote on Twitter and promote in general, the amount of times I get questions of, when is the RPG going to be back in stock? Is Welcome to Tycore an RPG? What system is it? What's Afropunk? What's Swordsfall? Like, you know what I mean? So like, there is no amount of marketing too much. None of us have the amount of money needed to actually get to that point, honestly. So like, when people ask how do I know I'm marketing too much, I'm gonna start being glib and be like, you're not rich enough to ask that question. Can you guarantee Snickle Snacks is a bee-free product? That bee shit calls me up. I cannot. Worth the risk. More important question, are you saying they'll have honey or like actual bees? Bees, but like Nicolas Cage style. I want packaging when I open up, it's just like, bees! Gotta get bees! Not the bees! Go full cats. Never go full cats. Never go full cats. We learned that lesson. Only if it's the new one. No, we don't need that in our lives. Lordy. Tired of cat pics? What'd I come back to? Just terrible people. Only terrible people are tired of cute pics. Cross my fingers for that polygon spot. We'll see. We'll see. At this point, I don't bank on coverage, right? And so that's part of my marketing is I no longer bank on needing outside forces to get me where I need to go. I'm not trying to bank on a news article making me big. I'm not going to bank on a famous, person on Twitch shouting me out. You can benefit from it. I got hella lucky from that. That's no doubt. But you don't want to bank on that, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do. So obviously social media is a big one, right? And Twitter, at least when it comes to the RPG space, it's hard to beat Twitter. Twitter is where most of the creators are. Twitter is where you have a lot of the actual people who do like your onboarding for sponsorships and stuff like that. So just in terms of getting your face in front of the most people for literally free, you can't beat Twitter. And I know most people came in from Twitter, so I don't have to tell you that. But if you're the kind of person who you're barely on Twitter and you're creating something, you need to up it up. You need to up your game. When I was first doing, when I first was like, okay, time to promote Swordsfall at the beginning of the year, I started off in January just doing random tweets, right? I would randomly tweet about Swordsfall stuff. Every time there was an article that I did on World Anvil, I would post it to Twitter, and I'd post it multiple times. And of course I did like most people did with trying to like fill it with hashtags. I'd fill it hashtags till there was literally no characters left. And you start looking around and you're like, oh man, like all these hashtags don't work. So you adjust it. But I also noticed that when I don't tweet, I don't get sales. When I don't tweet, I don't get website visits. I can especially tell you this because at the beginning of the year, I was like knee deep in working on like Summit of Kings and trying to finish Drift of Dreams scripts. So I wasn't tweeting as much as I used to. And my stats plummeted. I mean, like, if I was to pull up a chart of like the amount I tweet versus my web hits, it would basically be an overlay. So if you're worried about how much you tweet, just think about the fact that I have 12K followers and you're here watching my stream, and I damn well know that if I don't tweet, I won't make sales. It's like that. Like, there really is a sense of having to get people's attention immediately in that moment and be like, buy my stuff. Which that's an important thing to mention as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for the sale. In fact, you should. Sometimes the days I make the most money is when I literally post a product and I'm like, hey, this is on sale. Come buy it. Almost every time I do that, at least one person buys it. Without fail. At least one person buys it. Are you hearing me? If I tweet, buy this product, at least one person buys it. So, like, what else can you say about that? There's a direct correlation between when you market and when people buy your stuff. And oftentimes, I think you'll be surprised by the fact that oftentimes it's not that people are ignoring you. It's not that they hate you. It's just that they simply have not paid attention because you have not grabbed their attention. And that is the entire antithesis of call to actions and all that kind of stuff. It hits differently when you say to somebody, hey, this is Swordsfall, and it's a new like Afropunk sci fantasy. Send. It doesn't, you know, I mean, cool, Swordsfall, Afropunk, that's cool. You saw it, you nodded, you said yes, and then you scrolled. That's what a lot of people are doing, and that's the stuff that doesn't work. And some of the people in this channel, you know that because I've talked to you about that, because it does not work. If you just simply say a statement, people will go, okay, statement heard, and they'll keep going. That's it. You have to actually grab their attention. So when I say, hey, track top stickers are in stock now, come buy one. Does that not feel differently? Like, when you hear me say that, does that not feel differently? Like, you have a sense, like, it kind of makes you go, what? I mean, like, do I have to buy it? I mean, I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but I guess I'll see. Like, what even is this? Why would I even want to buy it? That's the trap. Anything I can get you to click the link, that's the trap. That's the trap. And that's all big companies are doing when they spend money on marketing, is they literally can throw out enough traps to where it feels like eventually you have no choice but to click it. Be like, oh my God, I've seen this ad 82,000 fucking times, and now finally I'm kind of interested and I'll click it. We've all done that. How many times have we not paid attention to a song until the third or fourth time we listened to it? Or hell, how many times have you heard a song for like the 89th time, and then randomly out of nowhere for the first time today you heard that lyric or that sound or that piece of that song? Like, human awareness is not on all the time. Like, it's very spatial. Like, if we have things going on, you never know like what people has in their head. They could be on the lunch break flying through Twitter, but they're really thinking about what am I going to order in a second. They see what's on the screen, but they don't really see it. So when you're doing your promo on Twitter, it's really about how can I formulate it in a way that makes someone stop. And there's literally the term, like, there was a cheeky term I heard for it. It's like a thumb stop or something like that. That's what there's like a fancy term they call it right now in marketing in terms of something that makes you stop scrolling. You literally making your thumb stop and read it. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for. You're trying to figure out what makes someone's thumb stop. And that's That's technically what quote unquote marketing is the combination of things that make people stop to pay attention. And that changes depending on the platform, right? How you would do that on Twitter is vastly different than how you do it on Instagram. I am a fantastic Twitter marketer. I am a awful Instagram marketer. I can't figure out Instagram to save my damn ass. Not a bit. I've tried. Bruh, it's just hard. Does that mean like it failing at me? No. But it's a good indication to me that like how I like to market is definitely in tune to how Twitter is. So I lean into that. Twitter's my main platform. I spend the bulk of my time when I want to market on Twitter. When there's a new product, Twitter is what gets it first. I talk about that first because I've noticed that the way that I like to do Twitter works out well. I've seen also the exact opposite. There are people who do way better Instagram than Twitter, right? Play into that. If you find that you have an easier time with Instagram because it's pictures and you know how to do a really good picture and a cute caption, cool. But either way, you have to remember that there's a certain combination of actions you have to do to make people stop to pay attention. On Twitter, it's a combination of either a good picture that makes someone go, what is this? Or a full tweet that's just text that's formulated in a way that the first sentence makes them want to read the rest. Either way, gotta lean into it, right? And you have to just remember what's gonna make someone pay attention. Because you can't think about it so much in terms of, I made a good product and I put in lots of effort. Nah, you gotta be like, okay, I'm a fucking stranger and somebody has no idea who I am, and how am I going to get them to pause and take me seriously? Yeah. So for me, I approach it with my own personal sense of witticism and extraness that is just me. Right? Like, I don't want to say I break marketing rules because technically breaking marketing rules is still a marketing rule. Being counterculture is still part of the culture. But I also know that in a field where people are used to things being very cleansed and brand, that me literally saying a tweet that goes, hey, buy this, with an exclamation point and a wink, I know that that's golden. Is there anything special about the tweet? No. But people rarely see that. And it's honest and it's artistic because I do want you to buy it. And I can say that because I think this is a good product. So there's no risk to me. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of looking at it differently. It's looking into playing into it. I treat it like a game sometimes. I have fun on my Twitter and I try to be like, cool, what works this time? And let's try 3 pictures. All right, let's try 4 pictures. All right, let's try 2 pictures. Let's try this one big picture. I will retweet my own tweets. I do it all the time. I'll look at my feed and be like, okay, I have to do like 2 full thumb swipes before I see Swordsfall content. I've been bitching too much today. Let me go through and retweet this, retweet this, retweet this. Oh, this only has 20 likes? Yeah, not okay. Retweet. Yeah. It's not an accident that you see this stuff on my Twitter. Like, I purposely try to make sure you see my stuff. You know? So, and also that's the thing too. People don't always have to see the work you put into it. They just have to see the output, that final output, right? That's the sale. That's the market. You know? And a lot of the other stuff I'm going to tell you about kind of spurns from that sense of being proud of what you can do, but then thinking about what are unorthodox ways for people to pay attention to me. It doesn't require money, you know? Places will get mad at you for this, but I'm going to put it out there because I'm a hustler. One thing I did for my convention way back when is had a whole bunch of basically kind of like club cards, but in like a business card format. If you're not familiar with a club card is, if you've ever seen them like in a club, and it has like the promoters on one side and then like the acts on the other side, or maybe some combination of the two. When they're usually very like vibrant, very colorful, they're meant to like hand them out and people look at them because they're bright, they're attractive, they're usually on good paper, right? And there's like a weird thing about a club card. It's a really good marketing tactic, honestly, that for some reason has never really escaped the club scene per se. But anyway, I basically did the same, where basically I had club cards printed where it was the info about the convention on one side, like the guests we had, the time and the date, and then the flip side was like the logo and some other like cool looking stuff. And at first I was just carrying around with me, and then I would hand them out like when I could, and I'd be like, hey, yeah, we're having like a con and stuff like that. But then I was like, okay, like how can I just get in on this but not have to be direct, because you can only market to so many people at a time, right? You can only direct market so much. So I went to like Barnes and Nobles and Borders, and I would go to like the manga and anime section, and I would start inserting the cards into the books. I'm not gonna tell anybody to do that because I'm pretty sure that's a great way to get kicked out. But hey, someone out there bought a chapter of manga and opened it up and had a Little Rock GameCon little card in there, right? Stuff like that, right? There's just ways to get people where they're not expecting to be marketed to, and there's power in that. And that's the antithesis of guerrilla marketing, right? Either being parasocial on social networking, because that's a great way. Like, people don't expect a creator of a property to respond to them, good or bad. They really don't expect that, right? So that works valid too. It's not a free option, but it's a low cost option. But doing stuff like when you go to the movie theaters, what I did a couple times is I paid it forward, right? I would go up to the ticket counter, I bought the tickets for my movie, and then I was like, hey, here's like $40. I want to pay for the tickets of the people behind me. And then I turn and be like, hey, like, have a good date, whatever, pay for it, here's a card, you don't have to go or anything, just, hey, have fun. And then that's it. I didn't stop to have a conversation. I didn't try to market to them. I was just like, hey, I paid your movie. They're our GameCon. Boom. Like, I don't know if they went. I don't know if they tell people, but I know it's something that they're going to talk about. I know it's something to remember. Like, who doesn't remember that time you were going to go to movies and someone paid for your free movie ticket and gave you a business card? Like, it's a weird thing, you know what I mean? And I know that also because I, as like a decently large and now dreaded black man, you're definitely not going to forget about me. I use that to my advantage because people try to use it to my disadvantage. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to use it to my advantage. So there's a lot of things you can do in the community. And especially with things like on Twitter, paying it forward can be the essential of showing up on a Twitch stream and subbing, giving away some free subs. That's paying it forward. Guess who did that before? It could be the same thing as a giveaway. You know what I mean? All you're trying to do is just get people to see you. That's your first big step, is to be like, hey, I'm here. Swords fall. You got to put your name in their mouth. Because when they don't know you, you can't sell to anybody if they don't know who you are. So you have to have them know who you are. Full stop. Chat. Thanks for the follow, Katulis. One of these days, I will learn how not to rant and actually pay attention to chat more. Chat's good, which I appreciate. Like, I like seeing people involved, so don't not chat. But I'm like, oh crap, I haven't checked in 5 minutes. Twitter does require a lot of upkeep, but it's the most direct way to market. Get into the Twitter community is kind of daunting. It seems close already, and it feels rude to hop into someone's replies and try to connect with them. But it's possible as well. I just do not understand Twitter culture. Well, keep in mind, there is no Twitter culture. This is the culture of the people around Twitter at the time. Twitter culture is not the same today as it was when I first showed up a year ago. And it won't be the same in a year. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about being willing, about being open to things changing, and then you moving along with that. Because the culture is active, right? Culture, just like an actual culture, is active. It moves, it changes, you know? So really the best way to get into the Twitter community is just to get into the Twitter community. I mean, that's all I did. I just showed up and I was like, man, I need to use Twitter because it seems like everybody's on Twitter. And then I was like, cool. Search bar. Tabletop role-playing games. And I went to like the friends list and I was like, cool. Who are the big people? Cool. Follow. I need some black people on my Twitter. Like, who are like black RPG? Look, scroll. Oh, look, black folks. follow, 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 follow. You know what I mean? Like there's a like kind of to be methodical about it, but also like a little scientific about it. The best way to get into community is to get into the community. You follow people, you watch what they say, you know, you pick up on the lingo, right? If you notice that nobody's putting in 89 hashtags, don't put in 89 hashtags. Start to question and be like, hey, is there anything weird about putting hashtags? And then people go, oh, it's just weird, and it looks weird and all markety when you put in like 8-9 hashtags. Like, oh, cool, you just learned about the Twitter culture. So don't be afraid of it. Like, I feel like when people say that, there's a sense of like, well, I don't want to get like canceled. It's like nobody gets canceled. Like, it's just about if you don't want to take the lesson when it's handed to you. If someone goes, oh my God, stop tagging me, you just stop tagging them. You don't have to get weird about it or feel like you failed. You just stop doing that one thing. Look around, ask yourself, am I being the asshole right now? And then adjust. It's like an active thing that kind of never goes away, you know? So I jumped on Twitter originally to try my marketing, my YouTube channel. Now it's lots of just interacting with people. I mean, that's what I do on my Twitter. You just have to mix it in with your promo. Like, that's to say, you have to look at your timeline and be like, how much of my timeline? I put it like this. When I go to a creator's webpage, from your profile and you're tagged, can I tell what you're working on? You know what I mean? If in that first screen, when I first go to your page, do I know who you are and can I tell what you're doing? If I like do one full thumb scroll, will I see any promo, anything about a product you do, anything about your channel? That's where a lot of people are falling down in their Twitter. Like, it's great to interact on Twitter, but you also have to remember what it makes your timeline look. So there's nothing wrong with interjecting your own marketing into your timeline so you can actually see what you were doing. Like, I talk a lot on Twitter, but you don't have to scroll very far to see my post. Like, that's how people realized that like I was getting basically shadow banned by Twitter, right? They were like, I feel like I'm never getting Swordsfall content. All I see is like rants. And I'm like, I swear to God, it's there. And then they would click on my name and be like, oh shit, here's all the posts I've never seen. And so you just have to think about it like that. You have to make it be part marketing wall, you know? Anytime I say, hey, support me on Patreon, you dork, I always get at least one. Exactly, Sniggle, every time. And on Twitter, sometimes you can post it 5 times a day during 1 week, and still some people won't have paid attention to it. Yes. Being direct can be annoying if done all the time, but it's an important tool in your box. Exactly. It's like a good I kind of like to switch it up, you know what I mean? It's kind of affirming when you get to have that direct one. Yeah, interact with folks enough and eventually they'll interact or maybe follow back. This time last year I had like 20 followers. I got my following by talking to people. Pixie, I am dead serious. January of 2019, I had 300 followers. I'm not joking. I had 300 followers. I used to have the screenshot somewhere. I had 300 followers. Like, I've grown this in essentially a year and some change. Like, you just have to be willing to read the room. And you know what I mean? Like, that's the secret of my success. Like, I never tell myself, I can't get in. I'm like, cool. What's everybody doing and how can I get in on this? You know what I mean? So I interact with people. Like, it's Twitter won't come to you naturally. Follow people, and when they have, you know, when people say, hey, like, self-promotion thread, post your whatever, better post there. You better post every single one of there. When someone says, hey, promote your stuff on this thread, that's your time. I keep seeing people who won't do it. Like, of all the times people are like, I don't want to market. When someone big says, hey, market, it's your time. There should be never an excuse. Anytime you see anyone saying, hey, promote, you should be posting your shit there immediately. That's how I got so much of my audience. Every time someone was like, hey, self-promotion thread, I was like, hey, have you heard about Swordsfall? You can find those tweets. If you literally search my Twitter and go back to this time last year, that's literally what I did. One of my biggest posts at the time, like in January, was when I hopped onto Can't remember who started it, but someone started like a hashtag about diverse games, and I was like, oh, this is my calling. Let me get on this bitch. You just gotta be opportunistic, right? You can be afraid to just blind market. I get that, but people will invite you to market, and you gotta hop on that. You know, take those opportunities. Then after I buy, damn it, Brandon did it again. And then I hit you with that order follow-up email, and I'm like, hey, thanks for that order you did. Would you like a 15% coupon? Which we might have to talk about that in a separate stream, but email marketing works really well if you figure out how to do it right, because it's a whole different thing. Still trying to get my hands on a tactical. Yeah, sorry about that, Sleppy. I moved like my storefront a while ago, so like I had to redo some of the products. But right now, because of COVID, some of the products can't be made because they're on back order. So I have a couple tactical pacticals ready to go up. I just literally can't make them yet because they're frozen. I think they said like it should have been this month. It hasn't yet because COVID is still doing a thing. But hopefully in the next month or so, I'll be able to do the tactical pacticals again and tank tops and some other stuff that people want. So, yeah, IG is a mystery to me. Yeah, dice people and just imagery. Don't push yourself to market on a platform you just can't seem to grasp or even actively dislike. With the asterisk of you still need to learn how to fucks with it. I don't understand how to market on Instagram. I still market on Instagram. So, that is a thing. Twitter cropping of images is also a weird thing to keep in mind. Sometimes images of text get a good response. Sometimes an awesome image gets lost because the cropping focuses the bits of text that aren't the highlight. Yep. And that's just the thing about just spitting out there. Thanks for showing up late, RS, as I read your comment late. So we all late today. Gnome Brew Standard Time. Love it. Also, Brandon mentioned he's aiming to put this one available on YouTube. Oh yeah, I put most of my stuff on YouTube, but people don't look at my YouTube. I once had a realtor do that at Harvey's. She bought my mail and was like, if you ever need to buy a house, let me know. Said, fortunate, I will never need to buy a home. Hey, but you remember them though. So, and all it takes is the right person to hit that, and boom, you know. Deals happen in all sorts of ways, you never know. Literally, metaphorically dreaded black man points at Dread Hat reference from earlier. Exactly. To be honest, as long as you read tweets, pause, read them again, and make sure you know what the person is saying, responding should be okay. Exactly. Problems only really seem to arise when you say something unrelated to the tweet. Yes. The amount of times I get annoyed because someone wants to, not because they're responding, but because they're responding and obviously didn't read my tweet, that fucking drives me. Pretty much all the people that I'm chill with around here that like I'm on like a first name basis with, it's because they authentically interact with my tweets. Period. You know what I mean? Like, that goes a long way. I remember the people who actually read my tweet and actually respond back in like a thoughtful manner. Instantly a good way for me to remember you and to potentially like get your stuff retweeted in the future. I feel backwards in the RPG space. Typically people don't mind you chiming in as long as you aren't trying for a weird debate or something. It's true. Thanks for the follow, Rainy Keys. You'd be surprised how forgiving folks are if you avoid the you should know better if you did any reading buttons. Yep. Or like, one thing that happens too is people want you to tell the whole damn story. People rarely ever come to me with, hey, I got this part of the info and I'm having a hard time filling in the rest. I'm cool with that. If I see you actively doing it, oh yeah. But if you're like, what's going on? Can you teach me? Fuck you. Not gonna happen. No. Pay me. Pinned tweets, y'all. Exactly, I know. Pinned tweets with your links. Retweet that pinned tweet on the regular. Retweet it, unretweet it, retweet it again. Quote retweet it. Like, legit. Get your pinned tweet to get a lot of likes. You really want your pinned tweet to look like a bad tweet. Like a badass tweet, right? So, pump that sucker up. I've literally seen Twitter take away Swordfall tweets from my feed. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, wait, where'd he go? Must be busy. Yeah, Ash, that shit drives me. It drives me. Refreshing, everything stayed except the Swordfall tweet. Thanks for the follow, Fuzzy Slippers. Pinned tweets are the truth. Owen Casey Stephens does a daily post in all caps where he asks everyone to leave a comment on the post to boost it. It's been working like magic. He uses it to highlight his Patreon blog post. There you go. I mean, I super could see that working. I got a huge amount of Twitter viewers when I was like, hey, everybody post like your Twitter tags and we'll follow people. And I just follow people and a whole bunch of people followed me. And I was like, oh, look at that. Networking. Here's my book, Me. It's that approach I take to applying for jobs, bro. I am fearless at applying to a job now. Like, I don't care what your qualifications are on here. Like, I'm applying anyway because you should hire me. We'll work it out in the interview. My first TTRPG stream was with some randos I didn't know because I took the time to shoot my shot, and also Proton John. So it was a one shot of randos and the guy who averages 2K viewers. Why? Because I tried for it. Just go for stuff. Exactly. Take the shot. Take all the shots. My man said that right now is there's someone who decides whether they want this or not. It isn't me. Put the thing out there. Exactly. Because you really can't predict what people are going to like and what they're not going to like. And the more you try to predict that, the crazier you'll be. You know? It's a lot of pivoting after the fact. A lot of marketing really comes from pivoting after something is out. Is being like, oh yeah, we knew that was the best part of the movie. No, they didn't. Fake till you make it. Email marketing is consistently one of the most profitable channels for any of my e-commerce clients, regardless of industry. Yeah. It takes a little bit to get going, and I'm still figuring out how to use it to its advantage, but I'm a little surprised. I was wondering why I hadn't got my shirt yet. Figured it was supply chain related. Oh yeah. That one was straight up supply. The amount of things I've gotten into because, why not? I let them decide, only to have a surprise Pikachu face when, oh, didn't know you were here. This is amazing. MailChimp is your friend. Me and MailChimp had to break up, but MailChimp is solid. If you don't mind me asking here, is the shop account the same as the account on the main site? Yes and no. The end goal is to have them be the same account. The reality is that the shop and the blog are two different systems now. And actually I'm happier that way because Shopify just does the shop part better. I'm just be real about it. It just does. So what basically happened was that if you had already bought something, you're good to go. Your account should already be in the shop side, you're good. If you never bought anything, it didn't really port it over. Some people did, most people didn't. So basically I'm just telling people right now, like if you bought something, you should be good to go. Just log in with your information. When in doubt, reset your password. If you try to reset your password and doesn't have anything in the shop, use your same email as the blog, and that way you won't get duplicating newsletters or anything like that. Eventually everything's gonna be tied back in together, but right now I've spent so much time on web dev, I just kind of don't want to right now. So I got the stuff I want to do, and I'm almost at the point where I'm hitting the cap of what I can do without like having to switch out my brain back into like straight up old school, and I didn't know. So one day they will be unified again, just not right now. Wow, I feel that look. A sub to your YouTube, Brandon. Don't give me that nonsense. Look, Brandon, there's so many times I can watch your YouTube videos in one day. I mean, technically you just leave it on repeat and just walk away. But I gotta hit them hours. Everyone here is so kind and helpful. I just wanted to take a moment to say how much I appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it, Pixie. It's kind of like my peeps. This is kind of like what we do. I've kind of like somehow made myself this image of like Go Time Hustle, but in like in a cool way. Whatevs. I just want us all to be successful. I want the cool people to be the ones in charge. You know what I mean? Like the abuser should be the one like worrying about money and shit like that. So okay, I'm legit having trouble finding a YouTube channel. YouTube.com/SwordfallRPG. It's also on the LinkedIn. The link tree on my Twitter profile has like every link ever as well. Pro Twitter move, sort by latest tweet, not their crappy algorithm. I mean, but the reality is the algorithm is the algorithm, you know what I mean? People do latest and that stuff still gets hidden too. Like I know a lot of people who do that and my stuff still gets buried sometimes. It's very strange like that. Virtually every Patreon I've sponsored is because the creator asked, either in a post or chat or whatever. Yep. An RPG live play group called Swordfall. On Twitter or on YouTube? I know, because I know like Swordfall D&D is a thing, which they're chill. They get roped into stuff about me way too often and it's kind of funny. Don't ever trust a marketing agency's internal metrics. Always double check with their own analytics. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna send out another email so people know about the checkout thing. Some of it kind of sucks because I didn't realize it was gonna be like that until sometimes you just never know until you hit play, essentially, how it's gonna play out. But yeah. Yes, please, but I'll leave the leading to those qualified to lead. I'll sit over here and make up stories for soul vacations. Yeah. Okay. Back to Guerrilla Marketing. A couple of the things I want to cover, and then I'm gonna get out of here. And also turn on the AC because it's getting hot in this bitch. Yeah, I just didn't want to do it because I haven't tested it yet. Because I didn't know how loud it was gonna drown me out. They started cutting grass right when I was about to stream.
Get up, Guerrilla.
Nope. Biggest lawnmower in the face of the planet. I'm like, he was putting my monitor in yellow. It was obnoxious. Okay. Either way, let's do some wrap ups real quick. The biggest thing I want people to really embrace in all of this is that money is not the determining factor for marketing. Money is a really good replacement for how to get your voice out there to as many people as fast as possible. Right? Which also I want to caveat, there's ways to do ads that are affordable. A good ad on Facebook for $20 can do wonders. But you have to kind of know how to do it, and that's I could have a whole stream on how to do the Facebook audiences because it's a thing. Facebook does not make it easy. We'll say that. But oftentimes I think people think of marketing as doing thousands of dollars in marketing, but you can spend $20 and go really far. So keep that in mind as well. The biggest thing is just to remember that your voice goes a long way when it comes to marketing, because as an independent creator, the independent part is really the key you have to keep in mind, right? You don't have a corporate board telling you what you can and cannot do that just has to do with spreadsheets. If you want to randomly do a sell today for your handmade dice, containers, you can. You know what I mean? So take into account that you have the ability to be mobile and that you can move as you want to in a way that corporations can't. You have the ability to do things in person that people can't. You know what I mean? Like, remember that you are also the ambassador to your project. So don't don't feel afraid to put yourself out there to answer questions. That doesn't mean you have to all the time. I definitely have my fair share where I'm like, I have no interest in answering questions and walk away from it. But that is something that you can do. Right? It's something that corporations won't do. They have approved PR teams of people who can say stuff on Twitter, right? And regulations of what they can and cannot say. And it sometimes has nothing to do with whether or not it's useful to the situation. It's just corporate policy. You have none of that stuff, right? You also have the fact that, especially in this space, you're kind of among friends. I'll say in a loose sense, because obviously just because we know people on Twitter doesn't mean much beyond that. But you have the benefit of being right next to the people who potentially you are selling to. You're not stuck away in a corporate office, behind spreadsheets, listening to meetings, right? You are in the thick of it. So that means knowing that this tweet is topical and that you can use that to market, absolutely. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to team up with other people, right? If you are a small creator and you know someone else who feels the same size, same vibe, maybe you guys can team up for marketing. And marketing can just be as much as being on each other's Twitch show, you know what I mean? Or being on one person's Twitch show or the other, or a podcast, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that you can do to get the word out there. But the biggest thing you have to remember, though, is that it's just about consistency. There's a reason why people like Bloomberg, when he was running for president, blasted TV so hard. It's not just about the medium, it's about how much. So since we can't really necessarily do TV ads for free, we can use social media. But because of that also means you have to treat it kind of like they treat TV and blast text out. I'll give some quick advice. My general rotation, what I do is I do an average of, and I'll change depending on the season. Like, normally what I do is I have a setup to do 2 guaranteed Swordfall posts a day. And they either will have news or have merch. What I do when it's like buying season, which will kick in like when we hit to September, though this is going to be like the weirdest Christmas season in history, so that's gonna be interesting. But like when we get to the holiday times, I start mixing it up, right? I'll do 2 articles and 1 promo, and then I have it to where I have my best time set, right? Which for me is like 7 a.m. PST. My time is like my perfect morning slot. So if you think about time wise, you almost always see a post from me at around 7 a.m. PST. That's not by accident. Then I have a secondary one that happens at around between like 11 and 12 PST AM. Also not an accident, right? There's habits that you can exploit, like the fact that people have lunches around the same time in America, regardless of what coast they're on, because of how stuff overlays. So like 11 to 12 AM PST is a really hot time because that's like early lunch for Pacific Coast, and that's when the East Coast gets off of work. So stuff like that. 7 a.m. works because that's rise and shine for the West Coast, and that's lunchtime for PST. I mean, lunchtime for East Coast. So like, there's a lot of stuff that overlaps like that. That just knowing when the best times to tweet are, not like the best. Like you can't tweet outside of that, but like, if I'm only gonna tweet twice a day, I'm gonna tweet at these 2 times. That goes a long way. Because a tweet can sometimes get lost because it's a time of day that people aren't checking Twitter. And that by the time they check Twitter, it's refreshed it with whatever is the newest stuff out. Which is also why it's like valid to retweet your own tweets. Stuff like that. Use public events to your advantage. Paying it forward really works. Once again, you do spend some money, but there's so many free and cheap options to pay it forward. I found that paying people's movie theater tickets works well, especially if you do it like at a nerdy movie. Like I'll do that. Like I haven't done it with Swordfall because I haven't really need to, but when I was doing a con, I would do it like during like Marvel movies and stuff like that. That's you can't do better than that. That's technically your audience to a fucking T. So same thing. So you find public events that correlate with your audience. For me, it was obviously stuff like Marvel. Then stuff like check your public libraries. Public libraries will often do a lot of stuff. Librarians are some of my favorite people in the world, and I think you'll be surprised at how much a librarian will like help you, give you a spot to advertise. Truly, hit up your librarians because libraries are awesome. There's a couple. There was one other one. Oh, coffee shops. A lot of coffee shops have those display boards that go up, right? That you can put like your business card or whatnot up there, or a flyer. Carpet bomb them all. Like when I did my con, I found all the different coffee shops around Little Rock, Arkansas, and boop, boop. Did it work a lot? I don't know, but it only takes one person, right? If you are already small, every one new person is one more than you have. It goes a long way. So you start off with that way. You're just trying to get people out there, get it out there, you know? Yeah, and people will bring their friends. They'll tell their friends, you know? Because sometimes they'll be like, hey, like, I don't know what this thing is, but this looks like your thing, friend. You know? You can't have that opportunity if you don't put yourself out there. You know? I'm not going to necessarily recommend putting the cards in the book tactic, because I'm pretty sure people hated that who worked there. But there's all sorts of stuff like that you can do. You know, it's stuff if you have to wait in line, hand out some business cards, right? I've also seen tactics where this works great if you have your own store. Putting a QR code on the back of your business card that has a discount. Handing the business card is one thing. Handing someone essentially a 10%, $5 off coupon, two different things. Two totally different things. People don't hold on to a business card, but they'll hold on to a coupon. So, guerrilla marketing is a lot about exploiting the small little things that we do just every day and just inserting yourself into it. And you're just trying to do it in a way that doesn't feel like dickery, right? You're not trying to like hijack someone's day, right? It almost works better if you kind of treat it like, terminologies all over the place, but it works better if you treat it like a hit and run. Pay it forward, pay for someone's movie ticket. Hey, your date's on me. Here's a business card. Dip out. That's all you gotta do. Like, sometimes standing around waiting for someone's reaction is what makes it awkward. So, like, plenty of times my direct person-to-person marketing will end with me being like, and I'm out. Like, sometimes it works perfectly because it's so awkward sometimes where you're like, do I have to say something to this person? And instead you let them, like, absorb what you're saying on their own time. So, stuff like that works great. Fun fact, Ed Greenwood was and still is a librarian at his local library. That's awesome. I'm all about that. Yep, QR codes are a great tactic for any physical media. Exactly. Slap braces did really well as a marketing thing. Bro, I can believe that. Pogs didn't do quite as well. Just be weird. I like the Pog ideas though. That was dope. But that kind of goes back into the whole people like things that they can utilize on a daily basis. Which is why swag works so well. Because like, who doesn't need a shirt? You know what I mean? So also things like that, thinking of outside the cuss things that are low cost. Slap braces are cute. I love that stuff. Pens. There's a lot of little stuff like that. You know? Oh, we don't really talk about it as much anymore, but community work. Like, obviously not just online, but offline. Like showing up to not necessarily community service, but there's a lot of places that are doing community stuff that are looking for just name recognition, right? They just want to be able to say that, hey, we're doing this community thing and we had X amount of businesses on there. A lot of the times you can get your logo, your place on there with the bare minimum of stuff just because they want to fill the page full of sponsors. That stuff works too. So there's a lot of things you can do for essentially free. You know what I mean? And the big thing is just to remember that corporations are big, but because they're big, they can't be mobile. And as people and as small creators, you can be mobile and you can use that to your advantage. You know? You can use the fact that you are more capable of talking to another small business owner, right? Because you understand those struggles. You understand that. You can talk to the audience because, hell, you are a fan. You know, sure, you're making this thing, but talk to me about this other thing and watch me nerd the fuck out. You can use that to your advantage. Like, let people see the stuff that you love, right? Make top 10 lists of stuff that you love and then figure out ways to correlate it to what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, 5 things I love about tabletop RPGs and how we're doing it in this game. 5 reasons you need a dice roller right now. You know what I mean? Like, we see a lot of those tactics when corporations do that, and I think we tend to be like, oh, they do it, so I can't. When we need to think that, hey, we can do some of this stuff and do it better. Because honestly, half the time, they're just paying interns anyway. Most of the stuff that companies do that you like on social media, all the advertisement that you like from Steakums, they're interns. They're your age. You're marketing to yourself. For real. So, yeah. And I think that's when I'm going to leave that off because I want people to simmer on that one. I think people forget that most of the people doing the social media ads are people like you, literally in your age group. Why not be that for yourself? Just saying. All right. Let's see who's streaming and who we can drop off today. I appreciate everyone coming out. And oh my god, I didn't turn on my captions. Why didn't anybody yell at me about the captions? I blame Anna. You're supposed to remind me, Anna. The mods have failed me. Was there captions? Oh, where they're like, oh, you probably had the Twitch captions on. Yeah, I turn on like the overall captions so that way there's no choice. You have to see the captions. You have to be accessible. I am a terrible choice. I have like separate captions that I do through my overlay Zig, so that's why. It's just part of like me trying to just do more accessible stuff, you know? Some. Choices. Who do we got? Let's see. I would drop us off in Warframe, but there's too many people in Warframe, and they're a big company there to get it. But I love Warframe. I like that game, so hashtag that. Kiki playing that Mortal Kombat. And we're playing Monster Prom. Susan's playing some Rainbow Six. Ooh, I'm gonna drop us off at my buddy Sean because he's only got 2 followers and that's unacceptable. We're gonna support the community and support Black devs, and that's just what's gonna happen. So we're about to go into my homeboy stream, and all of you are gonna follow him, and we're gonna watch him have a heart attack because he's gonna be like, "Oh my god, everybody is following me," and that's how I want it to be. Boom. All right. Thank you for coming to another Swords Falls Treat. I am your host, Brandon, cuddly teddy bear. I just want everybody just to know that like I'm not doing anything special. I'm just stealing from corporations and just trying to do it better. And I think you all can do it too. So, till the next time, stay safe, punch Nazis. Stay strong, stay black. Have fun, everybody. See you later.
Oh, Brandon!
What'd I tell you? What'd I tell you?